Alrighty, everyone, welcome to the Korean Cowboys podcast. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, my name is Aaron, and
my name is Joel.
Yeah.
And we are the hosts of this podcast that cover a variety of things from K-pop, K-entertainment, our views on things as Korean Americans. We basically cover a lot of stuff. So if you haven't, you can tune into our older episodes to kind of get a feel about who we are and what we're about.
Yeah, and if you guys like our content, make sure to hit the subscribe button.
Yes.
And the like button as well.
Yes.
This week's topic is something that is, I want to say, a little controversial, I think.
Yeah, so definitely we want to be a little bit more articulate than we usually are, simply because we don't want people to get the wrong idea about what we're saying. But it is something that is very, very relevant in today's society. It's important to talk about, too, I think.
Yeah, it's super prevalent in today's society. And the topic that we are going to be discussing today is the cancel culture.
Yes, it is definitely something that you see all the time these days.
Yes.
And we kind of wanted to get into it and like kind of try to dissect it a little bit so it's a little bit easier to understand why it's a thing now and why it has become so big and, what maybe where it stands in terms of morality.
Yeah.
And in terms of if it's appropriate, what level of it is appropriate, stuff like that, because, it's become so blurry on why people or things get canceled. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the definition of cancel culture, for those of you guys that may not be familiar with it, it's a phrase contemporary to the late 2010s and early 2020s, used to refer to a culture in which those who are deemed to have acted or spoken in an unacceptable manner are ostracized, boycotted, or shunned. So pretty much canceled.
Right, yeah.
Right?
It can only really happen to people that are in the public eye. Like, you're going to cancel someone that, like, no one cares about what your opinion is. But, like, for a lot of celebrities or people that are public figures, people care about what they think and what they say and how they act and all that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
to kind of dissect it a little bit. Surface level, like, what do we think about it? Like, what's your personal opinion on it?
My personal opinion on it, just to keep things simple, there are things that I agree with and things that I disagree with within the cancel culture, but we'll get more into that later on as we delve into the topic. What about you?
I'm the same way. I think that in some cases it can be appropriate. It's something that, accountability is important.
Yes.
And I think that for some things you should be held accountable for. However, I also think that it has become extremely weaponized.
Yep.
Like, to the point where it's become inappropriate how weaponized it's become. And it's basically, in a lot of ways, an excuse for people to ruin the lives of people that they don't necessarily agree with.
Yes.
Which I don't think is right.
Yes.
So I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it can do some good, but it can also wreak a lot of destruction if people want to. And I think we're going to kind of like get into why we think that is.
Yeah.
But it's important, I think, to realize why it happened, how it happened, because it was not a thing until relatively recently, up until, the 2010s, especially now. It's like even bigger than it used to be.
So like the rise of cancel culture happened in like the 2010s, and I think that happened with the rise of social media platforms.
Absolutely.
Because like social media makes everything so readily available to you and like so easy to watch, so easy to find. I think people kind of just hopped on that ship when social media took off.
Right.
And it's easier to spread word, right?
So I relate it like this, right? So the only way, I think, back in the day, I'm just going to use this as an example, but you need to have, first of all, an overwhelmingly huge media presence with a scandal big enough that the news would pick up on it and people would watch it on TV or read it in newspapers for you to actually get canceled. For example, I will name O.J. Simpson, whose whole career was destroyed because of, the allegations.
Yes.
If the glove don't fit, acquit, or don't acquit or whatever. That whole thing, it was all over the news, and it was so big that like everyone learned about it through TV, through newspapers, through word of mouth. That's very different than it is now, because now at the click of your finger, you can see what people are saying in real time with things like Twitter or, whatever trends now, if you're on that. You can kind of just see things all totally in real time.
Yeah.
It's all about trends.
Yeah.
I
mean, which I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily that things are so readily available now, but I also think there are definitely minuses to it. You know what I mean? Just being able to like comment on any post you see and just getting information so fast and being hidden behind a screen, honestly, I think has made people numb to like the repercussions of their actions and sayings.
Yeah.
Like Mike Tyson said it the best, you know what I mean? Like people got way too comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You might not like Mike Tyson. You might want to curse out Mike Tyson, but you would never say that to Mike Tyson's face. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
You could say it behind the keyboard because Mike Tyson ain't gonna find you, but you would never say it to him in person.
Yeah.
Because, he's Iron Mike for a reason. It really kind of depends on what you define as being canceled. And what do you think is the justification for being canceled? Like, there are, I think because I mentioned it was so weaponized now that you have to draw the line on what is a cancelable offense versus what is something that you don't necessarily agree with, but, and it doesn't deserve to be canceled.
Yeah.
I mean, like, where do you think that line is? Like, just in broad terms.
So I think, like, in terms of justification for canceling someone or something, I think if the person or program or whatever has done something illegal.
Oh, yeah.
Like something like that. I feel like, of course, like that's justifiable. Like there are repercussions to one's actions.
Right.
So like in those cases, I'm totally for canceling someone or whatever. But I think it gets blurred when someone gets canceled for their opinions. Because I feel like everyone is allowed to have their own opinions. You know what I mean? It doesn't make anyone right or wrong. That's just their personal opinion. Yeah. And, a lot of people, like you said, have weaponized cancel culture where if they don't agree with what I think, I'm just going to cancel this person.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you. And I think the big problem there is that people have lost the ability or they refuse to acknowledge a person from their particular craft. You see what I'm saying? I might be a big fan of whatever singer, but they say something that is, questionable or that's in overwhelmingly unfavorable in the public opinion.
Right.
And you're unable to separate those two things. If I as a person do not want to support a particular artist or whatever actor, whatever, I just don't have to support them. It's not a big deal. But I believe in a lot of ways separating the two. There's the person and then there's the craft.
Does this person deserve to have their livelihood taken away from them because of a mistake? But then it's also blurry because they're in a position of power, right? They are a public figure and people can't see that and people do idolize these people, right? So it's like a very blurred line, I feel like.
Right. Like you mentioned, doing something illegal, and if you're charged for something illegal and you're found guilty of something illegal, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when someone says something that not everyone likes or does something that people find questionable, I think that people forget that, like you said, opinions. I was about to make a really inappropriate joke, but opinions, everyone has them. Everyone has their opinions, and we forget that people are allowed to have opinions. You don't have to support it. You don't have to like it, but people are allowed to have opinions.
Yeah.
And, it really depends on what the subject matter of that particular opinion is. But I think that you shouldn't have your whole life ruined because you hold a particular opinion, depending on what it is, once again. But
like I feel like cancel culture like has become like a big issue like recently because anyone can get canceled over anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I could say like just like for an example, I like Sprite more than 7-Up. The 7-Up supporters could like possibly cancel me just because I said that. You know what I mean? That's an extreme, but this is like a huge like American thing, right? Like cancel culture. Everything has become so censored now. It's hard for anyone to say anything.
Yeah, it
in
is.
the public now.
I want to quote the late Joan Rivers, or not quote, but she said something along the lines of, this is comedy. Comedy is to make people laugh. None of these jokes that are made by comedians are in bad feeling. Comedy has always been about that.
Yeah.
And it's about being able to laugh at yourself, being able to laugh at others, but not in a bad way. I think it really depends on where the intention is coming from.
There's like no ill intent, I feel like, from stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy. That's one of like my favorite pastimes, is watching stand-up comedy. And I feel like nowadays, like, people are so censored. It's like, it's not fun anymore.
Very hindered now than it used to be.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, there are some jokes, sure, that are like, you shouldn't ever joke about stuff. I get it. Like, sometimes there's certain things that you shouldn't joke about. But for the most part, you should be able to enjoy comedy. It's kind of like a trickle-down effect, right? So the comedian might get canceled. I were to retweet that I like this particular comedian, then I'm canceled because I'm supporting that. You know what I mean? Like, it's become like this chained effect where, like, you can get canceled for literally anything.
The cancel culture is pretty crazy right now. And one thing that I do want to touch upon is, like, someone getting canceled for something they said or did in the past.
Right.
As an example, right?
This actually happens a lot. Like,
this happens a lot.
You'll go on whatever social media, right? And then people will go backwards years, 10 years, whatever, like 10, 20 years sometimes. Like, they'll go back and they'll find something that they said however long ago.
And the thing is, like, let's say, like, back, like, when they said it, like, 10, 20 years ago, it wasn't controversial at all. It was like, okay, it was accepted. But now that the cancel culture is alive, people are like, oh, why would you say that? Yeah, obviously, like, in today's day and age, like, it might not be accepted, but back then it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Society changes. It grows. It evolves. It doesn't stay the same. Things kind of change over time. The meaning of words or the meaning of phrases or the meaning of doing whatever changes over time. And you can't take something that was however long ago and apply it to now.
Yeah.
With the same meaning. I feel like that's not fair to that person. There's a big, big, big horde mentality.
It's become offensive to not support someone getting canceled.
Yeah, so like, canceled. For example, like, this has actually happened to me. So, like, there's been a particular luxury brand that was having some problems in the press, like, I don't know, however many months ago. And they were canceled, a canceled luxury brand. People are boycotting their stores and all this stuff. I mean, I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. But I actually asked somebody, I was like, what do you think about this brand? It's like, I don't support that brand anymore because of whatever happened, right? I asked them why, what happened. That person could not tell me why they weren't supporting that brand anymore.
Yep. Because
they were merely going with what everyone else was thinking.
Yes.
Their opinion. They were following that, the internet's opinion. They laid down the hammer. Here come the judge. They were putting down the hammer. This is now canceled. You have to support it. And it's the horde mentality. A lot of people will cancel people, but they won't even know why. They won't look into it themselves. They won't make the concentrated effort to make their own educated opinion on things. They follow what other people say. And a lot of the time, I don't think that's certainly not fair, but that's definitely like a byproduct of social media and the travel of information at these really, really crazy fast speeds and all this stuff. So I don't think that's necessarily fair,
Definitely not fair. And also, I think you brought up social media, which is a very good point. I think why does everyone use social media? Because you want to be accepted by the public, by your friends, by your family, right? You want to post stuff that are cool. So, like, let's say, like, canceling, like, X, Y, and Z. That's like the trend these days. Everyone's doing it because they want to be accepted, right? It's a weird rabbit hole that we're going down, but I definitely do agree that cancel culture is very horde mentality based. I mean, like, I think like shit. Like, if you genuinely don't like a person, or like you are genuinely offended by this person's actions or sayings, and you can back up like your reason for them, like, wanting to get them canceled, good for you. But the thing is, like Joel said, like, probably like half of these people don't even know what they're like, what they're supporting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's crazy.
So I think at the end of the day, if you're gonna cancel someone for something that maybe wasn't illegal, right? Like, because it's a totally different ball game when it's illegal. But you as a person are allowed to cancel someone, but you should not, I think, make this concerted effort to rally people and, like, go out of your way to gather people and cancel someone. I don't think that's right.
That's totally not right, because, like, I think morally, like, you're literally taking someone's livelihood away, taking food off their table because other people are doing it.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
because you like generally dislike this person, just because people are doing it, you're doing it.
yeah, so think about it like this. You're trying to cancel someone, right? Like you don't like someone. So you do that. You tell your friends about whatever. And those people tell their friends. And then, as I said, eventually it gets to the point where no one even knows why we're not supporting someone anymore because it gets so diluted that no one knows what's going on. So, it's not really fair. If it's like really, really, really clear cut, then that's one thing. But like a lot of the time it's very like, not, so clear cut what's going on. So eventually that's how you get this snowball rolling, and it just turns into this, huge thing that's, doesn't have to be. Because I think what's really important is to understand that when you do that, you basically look at any situation in black or white.
Yeah.
Which that's not the way the world works. You can't look at everything as being black or white, right or wrong. It's not about that. It's about looking at the whole situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can't just look at A and Z. You gotta look A through Z.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You look at the whole alphabet. You know what I mean?
Look at the certain circumstances that might have been happening.
Like Joel said, if you have like an actual genuine reason for disliking this person and this person deserves to be canceled, then yeah, okay, cool. But the horde mentality, like the mob mentality, like I'm not about that.
And with the way that cancel culture works now, if you are canceled, you cannot recover. It's very hard to recover. So you're basically throwing away that person's opportunity, that chance for personal growth, for forgiveness, to learn a lesson. There's no room for learning lessons when you cancel someone because that's it.
Yep.
That's the end. I don't consider that to be fair because anybody, minus really crazy situations where it's illegal, you deserve to have a second chance to better yourself.
Of course.
However, if you go through these efforts to cancel someone, you are robbing them of that opportunity, which is not fair because people make mistakes in life. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. Everyone's made mistakes.
Yeah.
But those are mistakes that we learn from. And by canceling someone, you rob them of that opportunity.
Yeah.
Which is completely unfair.
Unless, like Joel said, unless they do something like incredible.
I mean, if you kill someone,
like
that's one thing,
yeah.
But
if you're just canceling this person and taking away, robbing them of their opportunity to grow, robbing them of their livelihood because of an opinion that differs from yours, I think that's where the line gets drawn for me, where it's like, come on.
Yeah,
an opinion is an opinion.
Yeah, and I think there's two schools of thought on this particular thing. One side that thinks, I am this person who I want to be a person to hold someone else accountable for their mistakes or for something that they said.
Yeah.
And then there's another group of people that think, well, I think that doing that is a suppression of opinions, of beliefs. Yeah. Which is, it's two schools of thought on it because there's some people that hate cancel culture completely and absolutely. And there's some people that believe in cancel culture to every highest degree.
Yeah.
I think you and I kind of sit in the middle a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm not like, I look at all sides, all angles of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can make my own personal decision on what I think should be canceled. And there have been times where I'm like, oh, that person doesn't deserve forgiveness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then there's some people I'm like, I look at when they're canceled, I'm like, this isn't fair.
And honestly, I think a lot of it is just like, it's like a witch hunt. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is.
Just me personally, I think a lot of people on the internet have too much power. Where do you draw the line between like having too much power and having enough say?
It's the anonymity. For example, people go on these things that are called power trips, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically a power trip for a lot of people.
Yep.
You suddenly have sway in something big like a brand or a celebrity.
Yeah.
You have control over their life. Even retweeting one thing is enough to add to
get the snowball.
Get the snowball rolling. That's power. A lot of people look at that and they're like, oh, that's cool. I'm part of something. They want to be involved. Like, as human beings, we want to be involved in things, right? FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, you want to be part of something, and that gives you the opportunity. So if you're like a basement dweller, it's like, just hanging out all day at home, and then, suddenly you have massive sway over public opinion, or you at least have a part of that power. Like, it's
people
fascinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They call them social justice warriors. Yes. It gives a lot of power to to people like that. And it's okay to have your opinions. There are some things in society that need to be fixed. Fair enough. There are societal issues that are going on today that are outdated, antiquated, and they're very not appropriate for today's day and age. But a lot of these people turn it into a hobby or a career to basically just talk about that stuff all day long. Talk about canceling this and that, talking about their gripes and stuff. But like I said, it's not that black and white. It's not I'm right, you're wrong. You don't agree with me? Well, F you. It's not like that. It's there's more angles to everything.
Just me personally, my biggest issue with the cancel culture is being canceled for a difference of opinions. Just because my opinion is different from yours doesn't make your opinion right. Mm-hmm. They're opinions. They're not facts. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't just cancel someone because they have an opinion that differs from yours.
Right.
That's the one part of cancel culture for me that doesn't really make sense, and that I cannot get on board with, that I don't agree with. Because America was built on what? Freedom of speech.
That's right.
And you're literally taking away a person's thoughts.
That's
a
right.
person's the way they talk, the way they can communicate with others. And I definitely don't agree with that. That's one part of cancel culture I definitely don't agree with.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that are cancelable offenses, and whether it be in speech or whether it be in action. I'm not going to sit here and name them, but I mean, we all know things that are you just can't look past it.
Yeah, if you're crossing the line, you know what I mean.
But I think there's a lot of the times when people don't cross the line, and it might be you don't like it, but tough. Yeah, that's the way the world works. Not everyone thinks the same as another person. You got to be fair in that regard. And
I think a lot of people right now, I don't know when it happened, but a lot of people have become very sensitive, in my opinion. Because back in the day, before 2010, honestly, the stuff that people are getting canceled for right now, it's just normal stuff that people would say and do back in the past, back when we were growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that also has to do with...
I mean, it's a generational thing as well. But the thing is, let's say the generation right now, they don't understand why this, that, and the third happened 10, 20 years ago. Well, you had to have lived in that era to understand. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think some slack should be cut, for the people that grew up in that era, because that's how they were raised. You know what I mean?
My dad or my mom, for example, they don't know how to use Instagram threads, all this new stuff. It's not you can clearly evolve with the times, but it's not always overnight. Sometimes it takes time, and weeding out everybody that doesn't agree with you is not going to speed it up. It just makes more divide, like we have in the world now. It's become so divided, everything. People that maybe think of a certain way, it's going to take time to pull them around the corner to what has become society today.
Yep.
You can't, but if you cancel them and ruin their lives, what's that all about? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to.
Yeah. So, I mean, cancel culture, is it a good thing? I think in certain instances it is. Is it justified? Sometimes.
But that's the thing. Cancel culture is the ones that's justified cancel culture. That's not new. That's not new at all.
That's not new at all.
That's what happened to O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, it's always been a thing.
Yeah, but the new cancel culture, this new thing that's happening, it's the ability to silence someone who you don't agree with, or the ability to ruin a career over a mistake. That's very different. It's not news articles or publications that are putting out these articles now. It's people who not always are completely informed, or that they look at one thing and they judge a person's character completely on one particular thing.
Yeah, because
that's new.
The thing is also too, digging up the past and stuff. People make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. If you say you haven't made a single mistake up until now, you're a goddamn liar. But people grow and they change. I'm probably different from the person that I was a year ago.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
People grow and they mature. So I think like Joel said, people deserve second chances.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna cancel someone right off the bat for something they said 15, 20 years ago, I can't get on board with that.
Yeah.
It's come on, people change.
I'm a citizen of the world just like anyone else, but I think when you look at a certain situation where some people a person is getting canceled, right? Look at it through unobstructed with your own eyes.
Yeah.
Don't go off of what other people say, their opinions.
Make your own opinion.
Yeah, and if you feel the need to cancel someone because of that particular thing, fine. You can do that. That's your right. Just as much it was that person's right to say whatever they said.
Yeah.
It's about freedom of speech, the freedom to think. That's what's great. Make your own educated decisions. Don't rely on other people. Don't go off of their opinions just because that's what everyone's doing these days. Yeah. That's what makes horde mentality, and that's why I think it's gotten so out of control. What do you think about the future of this?
Honestly, I think it's so rooted in today's society that it's going to be hard to get rid of.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
I don't think it's going anywhere, yeah.
I think if anything, it's going to get worse.
But I do think, me personally, I do think it's doing more harm than it is doing good. Right now, in my opinion.
I do too.
I think it's very detrimental to society because people, they're not able to say what they want to say anymore.
It's become a very, very, very censored situation.
Yeah, it's become a more like a us versus them type of culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't give people the opportunity to be open about diversity of thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think at the end of the day, it's created a huge divide, which is why the United States and just other countries in the whole world, they've become so divided because this has become a thing where it's me versus you. It's black versus white. It's bad versus good. And it's split exactly like that with no diversity of thought.
Yep.
And no chance for, reconciliation. It's basically me and you. That's it. There's no middle ground. And it's detrimental to not just the entertainment industry, detrimental to everything. It's made
society.
It's made a lot of society to be very colorless.
Yeah.
It's very hard to put it into words, but it's created more division, I think, than it's made anything.
Yeah, because people are so afraid to express themselves now. You know what I mean? Taking away someone's freedom of speech and freedom of thought is definitely something that is not good.
To put it simply, I think for both of us, accountability is good.
Yes.
But destruction is not good.
Yes.
Don't destroy someone. Hold them accountable.
Yes.
But don't destroy them.
Hold them accountable if there is something, if they did something bad, but don't just do it for the sake of doing it. You know what I mean? That's completely wrong in my opinion.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of the point, like I said,
it's blurry.
People will mess up. They'll apologize, but they're still canceled. So what's the point of even apologizing if they're still canceled? You know what I mean? That happens a lot.
Exactly. So it's what is the point of do you want this person to apologize and admit and accept their mistakes, or do you just want to get rid of them?
Yeah, It's really where do you lie? Do you want to get rid of this person forever because they don't agree with you, or do you want them to apologize and learn? Basically, that's where you stand.
Yeah.
Or where I stand, or where we stand.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So this was definitely a
very, I think thought-provoking episode.
Deep episode, yeah. It's probably something very touchy that we talked about today.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's going to be people that probably won't agree with what we say.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's your opinion. You're allowed to think that, and you're allowed to not listen to our podcast if you decide not to.
Of course.
But that's your right. Just as it's the right of us to express what we think about the particular thing. So just keep everything not so black and white and keep it very, light and try to look at it from different angles,
If you guys did like this particular episode, make sure to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, there you go.
Hit the like button, leave us a comment below. We would appreciate that very much. But yeah, I think today we kind of took a different route, talked about something that is not taboo, but something that's a little touchy, like you said, in today's society. Very touchy. But we just gave our personal, honest thoughts on the cancel culture. If you guys don't agree with us, that's great. You guys have your own opinions. That's awesome. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. You know.
It was an interesting thing to touch on something like this. We've never done it before, so
yeah.
I mean, if you guys did like this and you guys want us to talk a little bit more about stuff like this or topics like this, then definitely,
let us know.
Let us know what you want us to talk about, because it's something that maybe we're ready to touch on now. Yeah. So,
all right, guys. Well, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We will see you guys next week with another interesting, fun topic.
Yes.
On the Korean Cowboys podcast.
All right. So you ready for this sign off?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Yeehaw! Bye-bye.